All right. Welcome to Showing Trajectories. Tonight we have a round table I'm really excited to be putting on. This talk series was started in the fall of 2020, and we had three lectures. And this spring semester, we got a little bit of a late start, but actually, it's been really, really good. And it was such a process that we decided to make one of the talks about the process. And and so tonight, what we're going to be doing is myself and Jonathan Guajardo, my colleague, who is a professor here at Texas A&M. He and I are going to be moderating a roundtable between the students who participated in the establishment of Showing Trajectories, and kind of one, talking a little bit about their own backgrounds and passions, and then two, covering, what what this experience has been like. One, how visceral it's been at times, and then also, share some of the things we hope to do in the future, and then also a little bit about what they want to do in the future. And so tonight we have Jonathan Guajardo. We have Valentina Aduan. We have, and I'm going to butcher everybody's names. I'm horrible at names, as Valentina knows. We have Marco Mirales. We have Anthony Ramirez and Londa Gonzalez. And then we are live streaming this on Facebook, and we also have a Zoom link for those that are on the Facebook event page. You can find the Zoom link if you want to join us in Zoom for a little more cozier position. We have a couple of people already in here, and we appreciate the support. And so yeah, so let's go ahead and have our roundtable participants just introduce themselves, say your name and what your major is, and then we'll get into why each one of you all decided to come to A&M, and a little bit about your trajectory about being here, because I think that will be a little contextualization as to how you end up on a Showing Trajectories speaker selection committee. So whoever would like to go first can go first.
All right, so I guess I can go ahead and go first. So my name is Marco Morales, and I'm a senior here at Texas A&M, and I'm studying communication. Hopefully, I'll graduate in December with that degree, and also a minor in journalism.
So my name is Valentina Duane. I'm a second year PhD student in communication here at A&M. And I am trying to figure out how to leave this world a little better than how I entered it. And I'm not sure if academia is where that's going to happen, but I'm sure as hell trying my best.
I'll go. Hello, I'm Alondra Gonzalez. I'm a double major in telecommunications and media studies and in Spanish. Yeah, and I'm a senior, so this is my last semester, but I hope to still try and be working on Showing Trajectory in the future.
And I will go last. Hello, my name is Anthony Ramirez. I'm a third year PhD student here at Texas A&M University in the communication department. How did I become a part of Showing Trajectory? Joey and Johnny asked me to be a part of this wonderful group, and there's a longer story to that I hope to tell a little bit later. But yeah, that's about it for right now, and I'd be happy to talk more about it in a bit.
Were we supposed to say that too? Like, isn't that the next question? You're getting ahead of yourself, Anthony.
I'm always getting ahead of myself, so this is the fun part of the group,
Yeah, Anthony got a little ahead of himself, but it's all good. So and then we have Jonathan Guajardo. I guess let's introduce ourselves real quick. Johnny,
yeah,
you want to
just a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, I'm Jonathan Guajardo. I'm a lecturer here at Texas A&M in the comm department, and so Joey and I work. I run the new media lab over here, and we do some amazing stuff. And so, how I've always been a lifelong Texas A&M fan. I must say this. I come from a long line of Aggies, and so my blood runs maroon, which I think is technically, I mean, like it's red, but maybe a little bit darker. I don't know. But yes, anyway, so I am happy to be here. I teach new media classes. I also own two companies. One's called GA Media Productions, which focuses in media production, video photography, live streaming, virtual tours. And then I also own a publication called the San Antonio Sentinel, which focuses on hyper-local San Antonio news. And I'm super happy to be here. This group has been awesome. I love Texas A&M. I love this group. And Joey's just been awesome to work with, as well as everyone else who's made this amazing event possible. So.
Yeah, and I'm Joey Lopez. As I mentioned earlier, I'm the Media Lab Director in the Department of Communication. I am an associate professor of the practice here at Texas A&M. And my journey to coming to A&M is one that is very visceral and would take way too long to describe. But I'm here, and I've been here for 3 going on 4 years. And it's having come from, as they would say, that other school, aka Texas, the University of Texas at Austin. I definitely have a duality of life that I live, and that duality is something I want to mention real quick because I'm going to use it as leverage to go into the next question with our roundtable participants, which is A&M, has a very kind of specific feel and aura to it, just like UT Austin and a lot of other schools. And so, my question is like, what attracted y'all and had y'all come to Texas A&M? For me, it's been really interesting to kind of see this, the varied backgrounds of students, all the way from like urban settings to rural settings to international students, and kind of this, quasi melting pot of students, faculty, and staff. So I'll ask y'all to think about that for a second, and as y'all think about it, as you get ready, I want to thank our sponsors. And a person in particular, Shrivi. Shrivi has been very, very supportive of us, and from very early on would even come to some of our meetings and give us like tips and tricks and guidance on putting this event on. Our sponsors are the Department of Communication, the Melbourne Glasscock Center for Humanities Research, the Latinx Studies Group, the Convergent Media Collective, and Media Rise. And without the help of these groups, we wouldn't have been able to fund our speakers. Not that we're getting paid for this one, but that we are able to fund all these other great talented speakers, and it's been amazing to be a part of this group. So hopefully y'all didn't forget what I just asked y'all to answer, which is because people that don't go to A&M are watching this tonight and are participating with this tonight, and so I'd really like for y'all to provide some insight as to how you kind of came to wanting to be here. And again, like, I don't care about who goes first.
I'll go first because I think mine was pretty. It's a pretty straightforward, simple story, and the process for a PhD student is very different. Also, for when you're deciding where to go for undergrad. So I think Alondra and Marco probably had more and better insight in that sense, because for me, my decision was very niche in who I wanted to work with more than where I was going. However, I was very cognizant of the place that I was coming to. But let me tell you that the recruiting of Texas A&M for their grad students is on point. And long story short, they got me really drunk on wine. Recruitment night at NCA, which is the National Communication Association convention, where they invite you. For real, they get you there, they get you really drunk, and then they start introducing you to all the cool professors, and they build a committee with you, and they're like, you're gonna do this and that, and they sell you the whole thing, and you're like, yes. And then they fly you in, set you up at a nice hotel, and then get you drunk again until you say yes. And yeah, so that was what happened to me. It was the best recruitment ever. It was
Wow.
good food, good wine, good conversation got me into this school. And also Shruvi. I met her at NCA and she just sold it. She I gotta give her props for that. Because I'm all about the universe and God and letting things flow. And I grabbed a sheet of paper when I entered this room full of distinguished scholars and people that you meet and greet. And I grabbed a piece of paper and I was like, this is the person that I'm going to meet. And it was Shuri. And I sat with her and it was a match.
Wow. Well, that's powerful. I just want to give a disclaimer. I haven't been to any of those NCA recruitment meetings, and I'm also a straight edge, so I don't drink. But that sounds pretty wild. I will say at UT they did have those parties too, though. So we do have that in common. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. That was a trip.
I was about to jokingly say, like, I will not confirm or deny if that actually did happen. But I also want to take credit for bringing Valentina here to Texas A&M. Because I'm joking. Even though she, like, I remember in that recruiting night, like, her and I met, and we had a really cool conversation, and I remember she was really strongly gravitating towards Shrivi a lot too. So everything she just mentioned, yeah, that that was true about that, So I'm very glad that Valentina's here. She's a really great friend of mine here at the PhD program. But so I'll mention how I got here. So I'm from El Paso, Texas, the West Texas tip of Texas. I said Texas like 3 times in that one sentence. So I'm from there, and I got my master's from the University of Texas at El Paso. And there's 2 people in particular that I really want to highlight and thank for pushing me to pursue a PhD. And that's one is a former guest of the Showing Trajectory panels that we've had, and that's Dr. Roberto Avantmir. And he was he was my thesis advisor at UTEP. And he pushed me and pushed me and pushed me and believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, and still does to this day. And he told me, like, from a very, very early moment that I should pursue a PhD. I took some time off and was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, and I wasn't sure if academia was the right spot. I still don't know if it is, to be honest, but that's a different answer for another day. And but he pushed me to really, like, think about it, and so I did think about it. And when I finally did come to that conclusion of wanting to pursue it, the other person that came to mind was Dr. Stacy Sowards, who was at UTEP as well, and now she's at the University of Texas, so UT. So giving a shout out to UT as well. And so both of those professors really pushed me to want to pursue a PhD. And so those are 2 people I'm very grateful for pushing me, and not just those professors too, but I also want to thank my family, because my family was really, really supportive of whatever decision I made in life. But I know they're pretty proud of me and saying, like, you know what, I'm glad you went this route instead of another route. And so I also like to say that teaching runs in my blood and education runs in my blood, because my mom, my aunts, my grandfather, my uncles, everyone literally in my family are educators in some facet or another. And so education runs in my blood. And so getting to A&M. So I applied to 3 colleges because I wasn't sure what the heck I really wanted to do. And I was just taking a chance. And so I applied to the University of Colorado, Texas Tech, and Texas A&M. Texas A&M was the last school that I actually applied to. I got rejected by the other two, and A&M was the only school to accept me. And so I don't know how many people knew that prior to this conversation, but if A&M didn't accept me, I probably wouldn't have pursued a PhD. And so I don't know who opened that door for me behind the scenes or what, but whoever it was, I'm very thankful. But I also want to thank Dr. Shrivi too, because when I did finally get accepted, I want to thank her, and also want to thank Asha Winfield, because those are the first two people who contacted me right away as soon as I got into the Texas A&M and was accepted into Texas A&M. So it was an interesting process, and like Valentina mentioned, you're trying, these different schools try to woo you and things like that, right? I didn't have that process happen. It was very different for me. I was the one who had to try to woo them. I was the one who had to try to showcase, like, and I still feel that to this day, that I'm like, I don't know if I deserve to be here, but I'm glad that I'm here, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. I'm going to show that I can work my butt off. And you know so I want to thank those two people though, Shrivi and Asha, because they were the first two people to really guide me and show me how cool of a school Texas A&M is. And through that process, I've got to meet Marco, who was one of my students, so shout out to Marco. I got to meet Joey and Johnny through this process, and then I got to meet Alondra through this process, and then Valentina too, who's again one of my great friends. And this group has really opened so many doors for me, and I've met so many cool people along the way, and so I'm very grateful for this. And I talked way too much, so now somebody else can talk.
And by the way, Antonio, I applied to 14 schools because I was afraid I wasn't going to get in any. I only got into 3, but that's because I applied to so many. So I mean, I didn't say all the nitty gritty. I kept it like shallow, but thank you for sharing, because I almost teared up, and that was beautiful.
To split the difference on that, I applied to UT's PhD program and didn't get in, even though they wanted me. One of my great people who ended up being on my dissertation committee forgot to turn in their letter of recommendation, and I had to wait a whole extra year to get into the PhD program. So there's always some kind of craziness that happens to us all, and we all have crazy journeys. So it's yeah, there's always something. So moving on, who else would like to introduce themselves here, a little bit about how they came into touch with A&M?
I guess I can go ahead and share. So I'm from Houston, and I went to a pretty small school on like the smaller side, I guess I could say. My class wasn't like 40 or anything like that. It was 230. That was my graduating class. But like I realized after coming to A&M, it's always like, oh, my graduating class was like 800 or 1,000, something like that. So I guess mine is small in comparison now looking back, but it didn't feel like it. Um, but whenever it came to deciding where I wanted to go to college, I was pretty confused. I honestly didn't want to go to college. That wasn't what I had planned, but I really like, I always think about it and think like why I ended up here. And I want to say it's because of my friends, like my high school friends that I hung around, and my family, just because they are like I kind of always looked up to them in high school because they were like the really good students and like get all the good A's and stuff. And I wasn't like really all about that. I would get the good grades, but I had my other methods. Um, and so when it came down to like time to apply to the colleges, I only applied to 3 colleges, and I didn't even know what I was applying for. I didn't know how to do the application process, but I kind of figured it out on my own. And I applied to U of H, to UT, and to A&M. That was it. And I applied to different programs for each school because I wasn't entirely sure like what I wanted to get into. And I believe at UT it was something in regards to film. And then here at A&M, I applied to communication. And at U of H, I honestly couldn't even tell you what I applied for. I don't remember. But out of all three of the schools, I got accepted because I was it was like the auto admit. To be honest, I don't know how I got that, but I did. And um, it was down to like which one I wanted to go to. And I really wanted to go to UT Austin because that's where all my friends are going. But like my family, like none of them have been to college, and like they've just been working all this time. But we didn't really have money saved up, so the financial aid is what really became the deciding factor. And A&M offered the most, and that's how I ended up here. Yeah.
Interesting side note again. Jonathan Guajardo here went to UIW because he got more money from them than A&M, but
That is
was
that's a totally yeah. I actually I really wanted to go to A&M my entire life. As a matter of fact, for and so I was 17 and I applied for schools and I got into A&M for architecture. I was going to be in the I was going to be an architecture major, and I was looking forward to it. You know, I came for orientation. I was all ready. I had my schedule. I was ready to go, and then you know, it was like, I mean, a few days before school started. And then, you know, I was all ready to move to College Station, and then all of it, and then on a whim I had applied to UIW, University Incarnate Word in San Antonio, and you know, so they called me and they were like, hey, we're gonna offer you a full scholarship if you come back to San Antonio and go to the communication arts program, and I'm like, all right, so. Anyway, nonetheless, I went back to San Antonio and took the full scholarship, and it was great. I don't regret it at all because I graduated with no debt, and that was the most important thing to me. I got my master's and my bachelor's paid for by the university. So and then, you know, years later, now I'm back here anyway teaching. And you know, I owe that in large part to Joey, of course, who, you know, really showed me that, like, you know, academia is a path I can go into, and then encouraged me to apply. You know, because, you know, I had taught for about a year, maybe 2 years at Our Lady of the Lake in San Antonio, and I was like, I don't know, I'll never be able to teach at A&M. It's a lifelong dream for me, you know. And then here it is, you know. So it just shows how things happen. And so yeah, I'm very grateful to Joey, and grateful to have the opportunity to even be here at this amazing university with y'all, amazing people, and do something like this project. This has been truly. Whenever I walk through campus, my heart does a little thing, you know. Whenever I hear the bells or, you know, walk by Kyle and stuff, it's really amazing. So anyway, that's my story. I wasn't going to share my story, but it's shared a little bit. So there you go.
all right, Alondra.
Where do I even begin? Well, I'm from the valley, the Rio Grande Valle, so from like super South Texas, literally across the border. Like I see Mexico from my house. So for me, being a first generation Latina student or Latinx student, it was really important for me to go to college throughout my entire like schooling. That was one thing my parents always made sure we knew, like all my siblings. Even though some of them didn't really work out with school, but I tried to be the best, what's it called, child or whatever. So I really, really worked super hard during high school. I ended up applying to more than 30 schools. I got into most of them. But of course, like some of them were my favorites and other ones were just like, just in case, like, you know, something happens and I don't get in anywhere else, I at least have like these backup schools. So I did that. I applied to school, kind of like how Marco was saying that he had friends that would like help him, or like he felt like they were helping him. I was that friend. I have 12 friends that come here because of me. Like I helped them. I was like, I didn't know what FAFSA was, but I made sure I figured it out. I would ask a lot of questions. I figured out how to do like everything, the in-state applications for all Texas schools, and then the out-of-state. Like I was that person, and I would like make sure my friends were like, even if they didn't want to go to college, I was like, you're gonna apply just in case. So I was that person, but yeah, I ended up getting into most of the schools. Got full rides from some, but obviously I just last minute I just didn't feel the connection. But during when was it? Thanksgiving week. I know like in high school you get like that whole week off, or even in college now. But I took that week my senior year, and I went on like a college road trip kind of with my school, and so they took like groups of students that wanted to go and see different schools, and I ended up visiting in-state schools. So I ended up coming to A&M for I think it was like 3 days. I fell in love with it. We visited San Marcos, St. Edward, St. Mary's, a bunch of other ones. But A&M, I really liked it because it was. Oh, and we went to UT also. Um, and I really liked it because it was like it felt like a little small town, like a little village, and that's what I really liked. Because I've traveled. I'm a migrant, so like I've traveled a lot, and I find that I just really like not necessarily the country life, but I just like open space. I don't really like to feel like a little ant somewhere, and that's what really separated it from a bunch of other schools. So yeah, and then also it was a financial aid because obviously I'm not rich, being a first generation student. So I really had to take into consideration all my spending, all the like how was I gonna pay for books, for tuition, for my dorm, for my little fridge in my dorm, like for everything. I had to think about everything, and that's also why I was so nitty gritty about everything and looking up scholarships and all this stuff. And A&M really, really helped out. Like if it wasn't for their scholarships, I don't know where I'd be. I'd probably be back home at UTRGV, which is also a good school, but I always wanted to go away from home just so I could grow more and learn. And also, I always wanted to go to like a bigger university because I know it's like a melting pot of students, and just cultures. And I just wanted to like grow more. And so, yeah, that's how I got here. And I ended up, I don't know. Yeah, I have like a way longer story, but I'll keep it like that for now.
All right. Well, I really like the stories that y'all shared, and I think it sets a really good base for discussing how we decided to gear the talks the way we have. And let me give it a little preface to this how Showing Trajectories even came to be before I contacted you all, right? So before we had this group, I was at a faculty meeting, and we started having some separate faculty meetings about diversity, equity, and inclusion. For those that aren't in academia, diversity, equity, and inclusion is it's a big deal right now. Diversity, means diversity in terms of the student population. Equity means giving equitable access to opportunity, and then inclusion means including the various populations and what's going on. And so one of the big differences lately had been equity, having equitable access. And so we were in some meetings, and I had some faculty that were asking, how can we engage minority students more? And I said, well, one of the things that I know made a big difference for me growing up was seeing people that either look like me or are different than the traditional narratives of people that are successful. And so the idea behind Showing Trajectories is that I had the faculty say, hey, well, we would love for you to take that and make that into something. And I was like, really? And they were like, yeah. I was like, well, I've actually hosted, talk series before, and I've always tried to have a DEI attitude with it. And even people that are joining us today, they've all spoken that are in the Zoom with us today, like Luis and John Frazee here. They've spoken at our other talks that aren't part of the Showing Trajectories, but are like the beginnings of that. And everybody has these varied backgrounds and experiences that they've had. And so they said okay. And again, going back to Shrivi, I know we keep mentioning her, but she's someone that and there's others, there's others, but Shrivi has really been someone that I met years ago, when I was still a professor at the University of Incarnate Word, where I was teaching Johnny. When Johnny met her years ago too, because she was trying to get us to come up to A&M and engage in diversity and inclusion and equity conferences, and we did, and I brought students up and we engaged, and so they offered this chance to have some kind of event, and I was like, you know what, I'll just start putting together a group of people and seeing who's interested. So I reached out to a couple of people, and then I had them recommend people, and we started building this group out. And ever since then, we've been reaching out to more and more people. And this talk, like part of the intention of this talk, is to be a calling card for other people to say, hey, I would like to be a part of like the curation committee and to be participatory in this. Because one of the things I want to make clear is our intention is to grow this and to have all kinds of other speakers from all kinds of different backgrounds. Like what we have a rubric or a curriculum or a schema for how we see showing trajectories going. Other than that, the people that we selected were people that we felt were influential in someone's life, and created change. And so, part of this evening's format is set up so that one, you get to know us as a group, and two, we share with you all like how we work as a group and how we came together to make these decisions as a group on who to bring to give talks, because to us, like, transparency is how you bring a lot of equity into situations where people feel excluded. That's one of the things that's very tough, is that so often people feel like they're excluded. And we, I'll admit, no matter what you do, we will have people that will feel, somehow slighted. And that's part of, having to do this work. But we're earnestly trying to do our best to be as inclusive and equitable as possible. And um, as we, as we grow, our intention is, like I said, to just have more and more people included. So my next question to the students is, how did you see yourself? Like, what's your story for how you entered into this, what you expected, and kind of like what happened? And again, I have no preference for who goes and when, but how did you see yourself entering this, and then like kind of what you initially thought, and then what it became to you?
I'll go first, because I think I was like one of the first people to um join the project. And so I just remember having our first initial conversation together. I was back in El Paso at the time with my family, and I had it was a Zoom meeting that Johnny and Joey had invited me to, and you all discussed the idea for this project, and I was like, I'm down. Let me know what you want. I'm down. I just like I was just like, I'm there. Let me know what you all want. I'm there. What you need from me, and I'm there. And so from there, that's where all of us, it started to grow and grow and grow. Valentina came, Marco came, and then Alondra came, and then we grew, and then Xiaofei now is a part of it. And so it's become this really, really amazing group. But what I expected from it, I didn't know what to expect from it. you know that was the thing. I didn't know what to expect from it. All I knew is that I wanted to be a part of this, and I wanted to work with Joey and Johnny. Like, that's the one thing that I was like, whatever you guys want, I'm just down, because I want to work with you guys. Like, that was because that was something I had been wanting to do for the longest time here at A&M, because I like the work that you guys do. And so you guys let me know what I'm like to this day. I still say that to you guys. I'm like, whatever you guys need, I'm there. And so um when we first had talks about like trying to invite speakers and other stuff, and then even now we have discussions of how we can um create Showing Trajectory into other platforms and different things like that too. Spoilers, it might happen. Um, so there's different ideas, and we're also creative and innovative in our own different ways, that we each bring something different to the table, but yet we all work so well cohesively. And we I think Valentina joked around earlier, prior to this being live, that this has become a therapeutic session for some of us, and honestly it really has, because we're all a very tight-knit group, and we're very open with each other about what's going on in life, and what projects we got going on, or what ideas we want to bring to the table, and things like that. And so not only has this project changed and evolved into what it is now, but it's evolved every person involved with it as well, including myself. And um you know again, what did I expect from it? I don't know, but like I said, I'm very grateful that I'm a part of it.
I mean, when I met Joey, I have been on this path trajectory of trying to figure out how to work with communities, how to work with people, how to impact in the field with the humans, and not necessarily just, you know, in my desk writing papers about humans. I wanted to be with humans and interact with them and work with them. And the more I got into my classes and this kind of and what we do, the more disconnected I felt from that. Not because it's not a possibility, because now I'm doing more things and learning more methods that are going to get me closer to working with people. But that disconnect came up, and it was very frustrating. And I met Joey. I think the first time I heard Joey talk, and I don't know if this is the first time, but I met Joey and he talked about the stuff and all his projects with Convergent Media at our Latinx Studies working group. And I was like, oh, so he's doing the stuff that I want to do from academia, but he's not, he's not going through the bullshit of IRB and the paper and the theory. He's just going in and doing the thing. And I was like, and I hear him like trying to theorize and think and right, and then and then I'll go do the thing. And I was like, I need to talk to Joey. Joey's doing the thing. If I can find the middle place where I can bridge whatever theory crap or stuff that I'm working on, and just the pragmatics and just the and the doing of Joey, like that would be great. And I met with Joey and I was like, I have to talk to Joey. I have to absorb everything that I can from how he comes up with these projects and documents them and works with with people in his communities. So I remember we met and we wanted to work on a project. We were thinking about it. I mean, there were a million things going on, and then COVID happened. I mean, I remember we were even possibly thinking about going to Karina's school to work to bring something and work there with the children's and narratives of immigration and whatnot. But COVID happened, and that just did not come to fruition. It was just not going to happen. We got to a point where we couldn't see people. We couldn't interact with people, which became even more frustrating. So when Joey sent this email and it's like, there's this thing showing trajectory, and I was like, yeah, I immediately was like, of course, if I can do something where I am feeling like I am involved in a bigger purpose than myself. And I mean, during COVID, where you can't go and do stuff with people, I am in. And it has been great. I think we've all some faster than others, found their grounding and their role in the group. For me, it's been slower. I've been dabbling in different things, and but one thing that I do think that we all share, and it's just our passion to help. We have like a shared passion to just want to make people feel better and make people feel cherished, I think, in a way. And I think we show that in a lot of with the speakers that we choose, because everybody, yes, they're all diverse. Yes, they all come from different paths of life, and are showing different perspectives. But every single person that we've brought on the show, even though that it wasn't like the main goal, are all people who are contributing one way to another to make people's lives better. And they're also very inspiring. So they end up being TED Talks, or what's the name of that thing that you guys showed us that was like the opposite of a TED Talk?
Yeah, Bill.
Bill.
Yeah, Bill and
Because that's the other thing that I loved about how we come about things, because we're not I've been to so many like diversity and inclusion meetings and like this and that, and um, I hate when things are all talk and talk, and I get it. A&M is a very decentralized university. To do things, there's a lot of things that need to move around, and there's a lot of conversations, a lot of meetings. But for us, it was just like getting together in a very informal way, which I think was what really served best for what we wanted to do. Because I think all the formality of the institution and how the department, and I love our department, I love our university, but the institutionalization of everything, or the, what do you call it, the bureaucracy of everything just gets in the way of when you want to do things like this. And because we weren't following that model, because we are who we are, because we are these kind of informal free thinkers, I would say, who just get together and talk and talk and talk incessantly. As you can see, we have no respect for airtime. Everybody's just going off. So this is you are witnessing what our meetings look like, and we just like going on, and we come up with ideas, and it works. It works. Like it's worked. And I'm going to shut up right now because I just talked about being respectful of airtime. So I yield to the floor.
For me, I joked about this earlier before our meeting, before we went live, but it really did start with an email. I remember I reached out to Joey because the first time I met Joey was for when I had just switched majors, which was my freshman year. And so everything, I was starting over again. And I remember having him for class, and then I had him, whatever, 2 semesters passed. And then COVID hit. Well, I had plans before COVID. I had a bunch of marvelous, marvelous plans that would really set up my resume and all this other stuff, my life literally as a student. Um, and I was like, in the email, I basically said, like, hello, Professor Lopez. Um, I'm having trouble like finding what to do because I've always been a rigorous person. So I always have like a list. But through COVID and the shutdown, it took a lot for me, but I feel like I'm grateful for it because I learned how to relax and take things more as they come and go, like go with the flow. And that was really hard for me. It still sometimes is because that like control freak pops out every now and then. But I reached out to him in an email and I was like, I'm really having a hard time. I had all these opportunities and now I have nothing. I feel like I have nothing. I don't really feel like I have a purpose right now. What should I do? And he was like, hey, don't worry. Everything's fine. Everyone's struggling right now. I have this group called, or I'm going to start this group called Showing Trajectory. And he told me what it was about and how he had like other students and like Jonathan and Anthony I've seen talk about what he does in his what's it called, studies, because I've also taken a class with Shrivi. So that's how I also met Anthony. And then when I knew he was here, I was like, oh wow, that's so cool. I know he's passionate, so I was even more like excited and kind of proud to like first have been asked to be a part of the group, because to me it was like going from nothing to being like, hey, do you want to join this small little group that has a niche for like I don't know, like showing other people's paths of life and how they went and did their, or like how they created their professional ground and stuff like that. It was really important to me to like see people like Anthony in a group like this. And with this concentration, because like how Valentina said, like a lot of times it's just talking and not really like doing anything. You just have the idea, you don't really start it. And that's what I liked about it. I like the simplicity of it, and I'm really, really grateful to be here because I have learned a lot and I'm still learning. So yeah.
All right. So for my story, I'm still trying to remember like the exact timing of everything because like I don't know. I guess I have pretty bad memory. But from what I can remember, in my first year as a freshman, I think it was first semester as well, I met Anthony. And I think Anthony was also starting his first year. No, yeah, your first year here at A&M. So we were kind of on the same page. And since I was a freshman, they put me in this group where, like, to be honest, I don't know what it was. I think we were just supposed to meet other freshmen, and that was every Friday. And Anthony was like our professor. I thought he was a professor.
I was the discussion leader for that.
Yeah, he was like our leader. So like every Friday, I would go there, and like it was with Anthony, and we we did like things where we just kind of would engage in different conversations, and that was cool. I really was like happy about that just because like all my other classes were just like lectures, and yeah, it was something different. So that was my first semester, I think, and then sometime it was either my second semester or my like first semester of sophomore year. I had a class with Anthony, and that was public speaking. So I took public speaking with Anthony, and thank thank goodness Anthony is Anthony, because if it was any other like professor or something, I don't think I would have passed that class. I would have probably just been too scared to talk or do anything like that. But so that's how I met Anthony, and I want to say after that semester is whenever I met Joey. So I had a class with Joey, and that was Com 230. Yeah, Com 230, and it was like my first class at A&M, or no, not my first class, but like I guess the first class, yeah, where I was like, yo, this stuff is like interesting to me because we would make video projects, and I had never done that before. It's something that I always thought about doing, but whenever I was like finally assigned to do it and I did it, I was like super happy and like excited to do my work. And I had never felt that before. So I did a few of my projects for Joey, and I really enjoyed that. And he started to, I think, host Convergent Media meetups, and I was just like, oh, it's Professor Joey, so I definitely want to go check out what he's doing. So I'd go to those, and that was like almost every week. And I started like dabbling into like more aspects of videography, of like editing and different programs. So I started using Final Cut, I want to say, and I would just do that on the side. But I guess I was kind of preparing for like my projects or just like improving my own skills, having fun. So that was that class, and I really enjoyed it. And I was going to these meetings with Joey. So I kind of like never really said anything to Joey. I was just kind of there, but like I was really happy I was there, and I would just soak in everything he would tell me, and that was cool. And then I had another class with Anthony after that, and it was shoot what
Intro to social media.
Yes, introduction to social media, and that was interesting, and I really liked that class and too. I enjoyed it, and to be honest, my favorite classes here at A&M are with Anthony, Joey, or Johnny. So like, it's just really cool that I'm able to work with them. But after I took that social media class with Anthony, that's whenever I got the email from Joey asking if I wanted to be a part of this group, and I just saw Joey, and I was like, oh, yes, like put me on this thing. It'll be so much fun, and I really enjoyed my time, like being with all of you guys. I've learned so much because I guess I've been working with everybody and doing things that I probably would never do on my own, like working on the website or making flyers, things like that. And it's really taught me a lot, and I've just enjoyed learning like from everybody on here. And yeah, I think that's how I got on. Just Joey sent me that email and I was hyped to join.
Yeah, so to kind of lay things out for the audience, Johnny had gone to school with me, as he mentioned, for 6 years, 5 years.
I think 6 years actually, or 5.5 technically.
Years, and so coming into Showing Trajectories, Johnny and I, we had run multiple lecture series. We had thrown academic conferences, community engagement conferences. We've gone and been activists, both in the left and the right scene, in all kinds of different spaces, and done art projects and a lot of other things. And the whole spirit behind what we did was developed around alternative pedagogy, or alternative ways of learning and teaching. And one of the big things that I've really kind of institutionalized with the way I teach is that I don't teach by being people's negative catalyst. So in a lot of classes, people tend to be professors tend to be a negative catalyst that people feed off of. So they're going to give you critical feedback, and you're going to have some kind of shame and go and try and make things better and show improvement and look for approval. And what I try and do is facilitate self-identity and self-awareness of agency through being positive, to the point that the only person you can get upset with is yourself. and and so that's how I came into running Showing Trajectory, which is to say, I learned from my mentor Sandy Stone to be a facilitator, not a dictator. So that's all to say, what did y'all think about this as you came in, and me just going like, whatever, that sounds good, whatever? Like how did y'all kind of take that on?
I liked it. I liked how relaxed and chill the atmosphere was, because I felt it would be more organic and more like the point of Showing Trajectory, or at least what I get from it, is to show the behind the scenes of people's success and like how they've grown to be who they are, right? And so they don't just show all the pretty stuff that you would want to see, right? So what I liked is that not only do we hold that like same energy when we meet up like this, like we're not in suit and ties and dresses and we're not all made up, right? So that's what I really, really enjoyed, was the organicness, the realness, because life's real and it's not always going to be pretty and it's not always going to be easy and it's not always going to go your way. So that's what I enjoyed. And I didn't know what to expect when I first joined. When I said yes to the email, I was like, maybe it'll be structured. But then I was like, it's Professor Lopez. It's going to be chill. It's going to be cool. And we're going to get stuff done, but it's going to be enjoyable. That's what I really wanted. I wanted to enjoy something that I was doing. I didn't want to just do it because it would be something to add to my resume, or, just something to put my name to. No, it was going to be something that I wanted to spend time on. Because as a college student, as anyone that works in academia, like, your time is valuable. And if you're not doing one thing, you're doing another. So I really wanted to make sure that I wasn't wasting my time or the group's time. So yeah.
Yeah, whenever I realized how it was kind of going to be, where it was more relaxed, I was really happy, because that's kind of how I am. I feel like that's like when I do my best work, is whenever I'm just relaxed and I don't really have to stress about stuff, and I could just like let the ideas flow. So I was really happy about that, and I think it's worked out good, in my opinion. Yeah, I guess that's it.
I have kind of a question real quick. Sorry.
Go ahead. This is Luis, who is in our
Hey,
Zoom call with us. Go ahead, Luis.
well, I'm curious because if I know Joey and I know Johnny, they're always hanging out with like a super random group of people. They're either incredible artists, genius technical people, or they're just surrounded by different kinds of people at different times. What is this group more focused on? Is this group like more artsy? Is this techie? or activists? What kind of group do we got going on here?
All of the above.
I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't try to put us in a box because I think the thing that sets, I don't know, not really sets us apart, but like a very an identifier for us is that we kind of are a little chaotic and we make certain beauty out of chaos because we are all over the place, but then for some reason we're really good at containing it and producing something like the product of the talks, the recordings, the lives, these products that we're making come from just all over the place, and we are, I mean, God knows I am not techie at all, but Anthony's definitely, and Marco's definitely techie. We all have that sense of wanting to help and activism for sure. And responding to Joey's question, I am the least structured minded person, so I need structure. So when I came in here and I didn't see the structure, I was kind of like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do anything. But it worked. I mean, not having the pressure of certain, I guess, deliverables made it easier and enjoyable to work on the deliverables, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that was something that. Oh, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, Anthony.
Go ahead, Joey. Go for it.
No, I was just gonna say, that was one of the things that I've really tried breaking down when working with collaborative groups in general. Is that so many times it's like, these are the dates for the talks. This is how much we're paying each person. This is the flyer. It needs to meet these formats. This is how we're going to deliver it. It has to be on this URL at this time. Somebody has to do it this way, and blah, blah, blah. And people get so like, and I've been saying this a lot lately, but people get so hung up on the process, they forget it's about the people. And so, what I try and do facilitating is strip all of that away. And I mean, even up till was it this week or last week's meeting, we had a fourth speaker that we had lined up, and we just had to cancel it and just go, that's okay. Like, we're okay. We'll do it in the fall. We'll move forward. Like, and it's not like it's nobody's fault. It's just what happens. Rather than being the dictatorial leader and being like, we all messed up, we should all feel ashamed that none of this came together or something like that. It was very much more us realizing that when taking into consideration COVID, taking into consideration the load of work that everybody's taking on, we're gonna have some really visceral times. So, anyways, Anthony, I wanted to hear what you had to say. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good. You know, being a PhD student and being just a college student in general is tough. And then on top of the pandemic, like you mentioned, but like I think like Valentina even mentioned it a couple of times too. Like being in academia, it's tough. Like it's tough. Like it's mentally stressing. It's like it could be a vicious place, but at the same time, it can be such an awesome place too. And so I think that's what Showing Trajectories or Showing Trajectory brings out, the awesome part of academia, what you can do with academia, and what it can be like in a different type of vibe and different type of atmosphere that is a little bit less structured, but brings in the creativity, brings in the the positivity and stuff, instead of just like a super structured workflow that's just like, hey, let's do journals, let's do this and this and this. And while that's cool and all, I'm not that type of person that it's all about all that. Like I'll do it, and I think that's fine and dandy and everything. But at the same time, I really enjoy the new media aspect of it. I have so much fun being able to do these live talks, be able to just geek out and have fun, doing graphics with Marco, or creating cool stuff with any of you all. And just it's a fun experience that sometimes we forget to have in college, in a PhD program, in academia in general. And it's okay to have fun while doing a project. It's okay to have fun creating something cool that can inspire others. As instructors, as educators, that's what we're meant to do, inspire others. And a project like this is inspiring. It's inspiring because it shows how fun, you know work can be. And that's something that I think sometimes we forget. But in this process is that we've created, and that Joey's created for us, and Johnny's created for us, it's just one of those, it's such a comfortable, safe space for all of us, just to be fun, joking around, because we're always joking around in our meetings. We're always just joking around, but we get our stuff done. Or it's just a comfortable, safe space to be in. That it's just, we can, like I mentioned, it's therapeutic. And so one quick story, and then I'll pass it on to Joey to ask the next question. But I remember I was going through a rough time last semester, and I was working on my comprehensive exam, and I stayed 3 hours talking with Joey, Johnny, Marco, and Alondra. I don't know if Valentina was there or if she left or what ended up happening, but I was with them, and we were just there talking about the academic process, and trying to figure things out. And I was just venting to them, and the fact that we have a space like that it's not just all about the cool projects that we do, but a space where it's friends and collaborators and colleagues, that you can feel safe enough to be having these cool, like, deep, sometimes depressing conversations or stressful conversations about, and I don't know. There's just something about that I'm just very thankful about. Like, I can't stress that enough, how thankful I am about being a part of this group. Like, you know.
I want to add to that real quick, actually, because that gave me I just had a flashback. I remember, uh, this is back with Convergent Media, before, like, when I was an undergrad. But I remember being exposed to the Convergent Media group and Joey's teaching style over there, and what that was like, and experiencing that for the first time. And one of the things, before this, I had come from a high school. It was a like a military Catholic high school, and I was very, very, like, structured, and I was like, okay, well, I know how to do this. I know, I had mastered the art of just, like, getting the A, and, like, doing all this stuff, and going through here and making sure my medals were on right and everything, and all that. And then I came to this, or to the Convergent Media group, and I was like, wow, well. And then I remember the Joey's 3 project setup, like, kind of changed the way I thought about things. And then academia for me had always been kind of like a goal that I wasn't really sure, like, if I could ever do it, before I was even really interested in it. But then after being in Joey's classes, I was like, and talking to Joey, getting to know the whole Convergent Media group and everything, and getting to have that experience, I was like, no, this is something I want to do. And so, being able to, and if anyone's been in my classes, I teach basically the same way Joey does. 3 projects. No matter what class it is, I kind of try to make it that way, and being able to have the attitude of, it's okay if life happens. And the ultimate thing that showed us that it's okay if life happens is COVID. Because when COVID hit, I mean, of course, everyone's going through their own personal struggles. Students are going through everything. Faculty is going through everything. And so being able to extend that grace, and not only extend that grace, but encourage in those times of in those tumultuous times, that really kind of, I think, can help both faculty and students grow. And this group has been one of those groups that has grown particularly throughout COVID, and throughout these hard times that we're all going through. We've been able to take it to that next level, and watching everyone do everything that they're doing and being able to be a part of it, it's been amazing. And like Anthony was saying, and Joey and I have talked about this a lot, of course, is, the idea that academia should be fun, and that school should be fun, and that what we're doing, and learning should be fun in general. And if you lose that fun nature, that playful nature, to education, to academia, then you're kind of stripping it down to the to like something it wasn't intended to be. Academia should always be something that it should be an exploratory place, an exploratory time where you're able to think about things and you're able to enjoy learning with your peers and interacting with your peers. And even though we're not physically with our peers in person, all the time, especially right now, being able to have this group and to have, like this connection has been great, and not outside of working on the projects, but being able to have this group to talk to really kind of explore different ideas and go forth and really vent in many ways also. So that's been great, and just thankful to Joey and Anthony and Marco and Valentina and Alondra and everyone here, because y'all have been doing an amazing job. And whenever we do one of these things, I'm just so proud of everyone, because this is an example of the best, that like academia can do, like can bring us all together. So yeah, just that's kind of my thoughts on it. I want to toss it out there a bit.
Wait, and I would add to that all the venting and the therapy that we go through together, and all this just the rambling and talking, do ground the themes that we come up with for our talks, because they really are stemming from needs, emotional and intellectual needs, that we are bringing into the conversations, either consciously or not, while we're just letting things out as a community. Because we are also part of a community of learners, and we are part of A&M, and we are part of a diverse group of humans that also not just need visibility, but all representation, and to learn from other stories that we have never heard. And we've had that in these talk series. We've had so many interesting, amazing people telling stories and how they got where they got, that I had never seen before. And I think I've watched a lot of stuff. Like, I would think I had seen it all, right? But anyways, I just wanted to add
The
that.
one thing I'd like to add is that we have someone that's not here today. They were busy, but that was part of our group, and her name is Jaffe Song, and Jaffe joined our group this spring, and it was really interesting because I've known Jaffe for, well, as long as Johnny's been. So what, 2.5 years, 2 years, Johnny? How long have you been at A&M?
About 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, this is finishing up 2 years. So I've known Jaffe that long because she got hired the same semester Johnny did. And I've had Jaffe over to Thanksgiving with my family and like just all kinds of stuff. I've gone bouldering with her at the climbing gym in San Antonio, and I invited her to this group, and it was really interesting because she was very quiet in our group, very, very. Everybody's nodding like, yeah, she was very quiet, and I think often she would feel like she's not contributing anything, that she wasn't like necessarily a part of the group, and she shared this with me, and I explained to her, I was like, one of the things you have to remember is like your aura and your presence, because she's so positive and happy, which like everybody in this group like would see with her, and the way she'd light up um has value to it, and it adds to the group. And like Valentina said, like we all like engage, some faster, some slower than others. Like some of us, it's like we were fully intensely just running our mouths, and some are sitting there listening, some aren't even at the meetings because they had other things going on. And all of it was fine, all of it was okay. And that was like, as a facilitator, I'm coming out and kind of going behind the curtain in the Wizard of Oz, and letting all know like that's part of the process. is that you kind of let this ebb and flow happen. And I was actually taught this from a colleague of mine, Brandon Wiley, who I went to grad school with. And one summer, we took over our professor's office. She was going to Switzerland for the summer, and she gave us her office. We built a lab in her like 10 by 12 foot office. We had like 6 people in it. We did internships with undergrads, and we had this one chair that she had. It was like this weird, like, kind of like IKEA cheap but very fluffy chair, and we called it the idea chair. And the person that sat in its responsibility was to do nothing and just throw out random ideas whenever they felt compelled, and or to sleep. And so, you know, that was another part of creating this group that I had in the back of my mind, was that, you know, I wasn't looking for any, like Luis was asking, you know, well, who's technical, who's theoretical, who's this? It's like, we really weren't looking for anybody to fill any of those needs, because of the fact that, like, you know, one of the things that I was imparted on from, again, my mentor Sandy, was just, we learned to teach anybody how to do anything. And so if you didn't know how to turn a computer on, we would do that. Like, you know, there was an awesome aha moment even last week where Alondra was prompted to do some WordPress work on our website. And she, you know, she was like, hey, I'll do it. Like, she picked it up and she did it. And then she sent us the link and we were like, oh man, this looks great, Alondra. Like, we see it. And she's like, well, actually, Marco helped me. And I was like, that's leveling up. Like, that's next level to me, because what that's really telling me is that, you know how to ask for help. And that's what geniuses, in my opinion, know how to do, is that a genius is someone that doesn't see walls, they just see opportunity. And that they don't look at themselves as the limitation, and in the sense of being able to accomplish things. They know that they can keep searching for more knowledge and talking to other people. And so when you see people kind of hit that point where they can work past the anxiety of not knowing and be able to reach out and get that help and get things done on their own accord without anybody having to tell them, and then also have colleagues that, like, will help them do that and understand that and are not bothered by it, you can start creating groups where the sums really are greater than the parts that are being put into it. And I'll go on one more little tangent, and then I'll get back to some questions. And this kind of rolls into another overarching question, which is that, you know, I want to be explicit, and I know they want to be explicit. Things did not go perfectly. You know, there were, in no way did our Showing Trajectories group meetings go perfect every time. We failed at communicating multiple times with each other. We had, like, you know, times where some of us were getting a little tense. And like, one of those times was actually, you know, this, like, in this spring, you know, we had an event that we held last week that Valentina, who's not here right now to defend herself, which is awesome, facilitated. And it was amazing, because we got to see our group really get anxious, really get worried about how things were going to turn out. And let me tell you a little bit about this event, which is that Valentina had pitched us facilitating a guest speaker in conjunction with the Latinx working group. And it was going to be in Spanish, or it was in Spanish. And it was a Colombian professor who is working with communities in Colombia and in rural areas. And you know, the information and how it was all going to come together, I mean, literally came down to, you know, not hours before, but it felt like hours before this event. And Johnny and Alondra and Marco and Anthony and everybody all stepped up in different ways. And this event that we were worried about and stressed about ended up being this really unique phenomena beyond event. It was a phenomena because one, we were really nervous about having a Spanish only event. You know, it's not Spanish first, I should say, because one of the other things Luis was asking about, well, technologically, theory, this or that. Well, one of the things that I will say is that we were all technically centric. So not meaning that we're technically savvy, but we're technically centric in that we like thinking outside the box. Even if we don't know how to do it, we knew that someone in our group would be able to figure it out. And so, you know, one of the things we quickly figured out was we want to live stream. We want to take our Zoom call, we want to record it. And so Johnny knew how to stream. And so Johnny was like, I can stream that. And then I'm a big YouTuber, so I was like, we should put these on YouTube. And so when Valentina pitched this idea, we were like, well, what we can do is we can get this translated to English later. And yeah, people are right. Like if we were to be strict and be like, in terms of equity, say, well, if it's not in English at the stream, then we can't do this. You know, like that could have been a stance that we took, but instead we said no. Like we're gonna circle back. We'll bring the equity in the YouTube rendition of it, and we ended up having this. Like I think, didn't y'all say we had like 70 people view?
75 people at one point.
Yeah, viewing the stream, and we had a lot of interactions, comments. We were translating Spanish. Anthony and Marco and Alondra, you know, were getting in their practice, and Johnny was flipping the switches for the stream. But you know, going into that, like for about I guess like 2 weeks, we were all really just didn't know exactly how it was going to go. And even the day before, we were like, look, if this doesn't go well, we'll be okay, you know. And it ended up going very, very well. And as a facilitator of it, I mean, I was nervous, but I was also like, I had to remind myself again from my mentor Sandy, who was a supreme operator of chaos, that sometimes the best things come out of the unknown, and sometimes we have to take that risk in order to see what we're capable of. And so yeah, I wanted to kind of throw that scenario out to our audience as you know, one of the aspects of tech and of cultural like what I would call culture jamming is that we are constantly trying to think of new ways to deliver content and interact with people internationally. So, you know, this talk series, we've talked about having it in podcast form. We've talked about it, you know, a lot of different ways. So my question to you all is, having had this kind of visceral experience recently, and then also, you know, the stuff we've done in the past, what are some ways that what were things that you thought were kind of not ingenious, but that you appreciated that you thought may not work? And then, you know, what are some things that you would maybe want to see in the future? You don't have to have answers for both. This is just whoever wants to answer can answer.
The cool thing about this project, in my opinion, is that there's so many possibilities for it, and I think that's the fun aspect of it. You know, never in the beginning of this project did we all think that we're going to do a live stream with all in Spanish. You know, we didn't think that, but you know, like you just mentioned, Joey, is like, it turned out to be one of the best projects that ended up happening for Showing Trajectory. And like it was a crazy but amazing experience. Like it really was. Like I was like stressed out because I like, my anxiety was like crazy high at that moment, because I was like, I had two screens here and I'm trying to switch from one thing to the other to be able to keep up with the comments that were rolling, because it was just like comments after comments after comments. And Valentina can attest to this too, because I had to leave for another meeting later on, and then she took over for social. And and then I'm pretty sure she started to see it right through there, that you're like, oh my god, like there's all these comments, and the act, like the audience in that particular that talk was just very active. They were like very engaged within the conversation, and I had never seen anything like that. like in one of our talks. You know, we have engagement and audience engagement, but nothing to that level. And so for me, I was just like, oh my gosh, okay, and then translate, boom, and then this and this. But afterwards that I finished doing that, I was like, whoa, that was fun. Let's do it again. You know, it turned out to be one of those moments where I was like, this was cool. Let's do it again. You know, and you know, at the moment it was like stressful, but afterwards it was like one of those things that was like, I don't know, I kind of got like a little like adrenaline high from it too, where I just like, this is cool, let's do some more, you know. And I think that's the fun part about uh one of the fun parts about being in this group. And in terms of like content, again, I think there's so many different ways that we can distribute content. YouTube channels, we can do pre-recorded conversations, we could do podcasts, because I think you know, I'm all about podcasts, as you all know. But you know, I think that this platform is really good for podcasts because we can have these cool conversations with people, you know. And there's different ways that we can distribute it, you know. Like Marco can be a host one day, Alondra can be a host one week, Valentina another week, et cetera, that we can all take turns in doing this project and doing something cool. Or if Marco wants to do like this really cool video visual spectacular on that we share on YouTube or live stream or something like that with Johnny, you know, we can collaborate and do all these cool things, and I can do graphics or I don't know, art or whatever, you know. But I think, I don't know, just the possibilities are endless for Showing Trajectory, and I think that's the fun part about being in a project like this.
I mean, for me, I am where I would dream for this to go in certain ways, and on the note before, like, I think what was so successful about that talk in Spanish was because the people that what they were seeing was something that a lot of them had never seen before. Not even people in Colombia have access to this community. This is an Afro community that is in a very hard to access area because it was impacted by guerrillas, and there is still a lot of military and guerrillas there, and a lot of the people doing research and the social workers and the activists from the area have had to stop doing the work that they do because they've been threatened. Their lives have been threatened, and it's very hard to work there. So this is a group of community members who decided to start a community radio, and it expanded to, right, and which is amazing. The kids in the community, they would show these movies every weekend, and the kids in the community just wanted to, and I know some of you don't know what's going on because it was in Spanish, and when it's translated, you'll be able to hear all these amazing stories. One of the things that were happening is that they were bringing movies for the kids, and the kids only wanted to watch like these American anime movies. And one of the very important aspects of the group, of the communication Cuchasuto, that Afro group, is using Palenque, which is their traditional language of the community, it's a language of resistance that they invented when they were enslaved by the Spaniards. And so one of the things to continue resisting as a community is making music in Palenque, talking in Palenque, and passing on the language through generations. So because the kids just kept wanting to do anime, one of the projects that they're doing right now is that they're making anime movies, and the kids are creating the stories and they're recording them in Palenque. And the kids in the community are the ones who are like coming up with the scripts and what they want to see. And I just think that's amazing. But okay, now I got off topic. Anyways, and I'm very excited for when that's translated. Anyways, one of the things that I dream of Showing Trajectory to do once COVID allows us to get out of our houses safely. I know we talked about doing some stuff at Karina School, I want us to work with children, to work with youth, to go and show trajectory, but not only bringing representation of other people, but what is the imagination of these kids and these youth of what trajectory means for them. I want to listen, whether it's through the amazing tools that you'll already know, like I know Joey has done this with stop motion and other narratives, and but bringing in technology into the classrooms and bringing in all, using Zoom, something as simple as Zoom, and what you can do to Zoom to build a narrative or something. But having kids, having other people build on the narrative of what is showing trajectory beyond what we're doing right now, that I think that's somewhere that I would love and envision this to go to.
One of the things that I remember the most from when we first met, Joey, back in like 2014, I think,
Yeah.
was when you brought Walter. Oh no, it wasn't you. It was Mariah
Yeah.
at the tech conference at Rackspace.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
had Walter Bender there, and he told like the story of the one laptop per child thing, and how he would go to these like community centers and drop off laptops. He'd come back a year later, and the laptops wouldn't be like working anymore. And then he came back a year later and gave the laptops to the kids individually and said, "This is for you. This is for your family." And then he came back a year later, and like the kids were doing incredible things with the laptops because they'd taken on that responsibility of, this is my thing, I'm going to take care of it. They learned how to use it and stuff like that. And I think all of this stuff, teaching kids technology in fun ways, like the way Spare Parts does it. What was that thing at the elementary school where we did the Connect thing? What was that?
The Sarah King Lions, I think, or Sarah King Elementary. That was like
Yes.
the festival they had, and we would go and do engagement. So this is Luis, who's chiming in here, who has done some work with us in the past, and we'll have to have him on at some point because Luis has some really interesting story and a really interesting lived reality as well. And we'll all have to go to La Cocina Mexicana in San Antonio, Texas, which is the restaurant he and his family run.
Yeah, I looked it up. I knew you before we opened up the restaurant, like the same year, like a couple months before we opened the restaurant. So 7 years. I just looked that up a little while ago. It's crazy. Anyways, sorry, I'm on.
But yeah, the other thing, Valentina, that you brought up outside of this talk that I thought was really interesting was, you said you would like for us to publish some kind of paper or article about, this process. And that's something that I found really interesting and I'm definitely interested in as well, because as a lot of people know about me, is I don't publish. I'm not a big A academic, like being big institution, ivory tower, like tenure track professor, even though I have the credentials to be that. And so I always find it really interesting to think about documenting and writing papers about what it is that I do, because it's very hard. It's very hard to, one, to write them, and then two, to get them accepted, because it's such a departure from traditional academia. But I'm always intrigued when people say we should do it. So anyways, who else would like
We
to?
will, because it's going to take us to Paris 2022.
Yes, I didn't forget. I'm packing my bags.
For all of you who don't know, ICA is International Communication Association Conference, and next year is in Paris. So ever since I started this program, all I know is that all my papers are going to go and be submitted for that conference.
So, did anybody else want to add anything there in terms of what they kind of?
I was just gonna say I would just like to keep, like, I guess, like, I forgot his name, but the person who was looking to like put a label on us.
Yeah, Luis.
Yes, Luis. I was thinking, and I didn't say it earlier, but I want to say it now. I was thinking, if anything, we're just human. Like, I guess that's what makes us not different, but that's what makes us the same as other people. And I feel like when other people see people that look like them and do the same thing as them, they're more intrigued to learn from us because we're more reachable, I guess, from a certain stance. And I feel like that in turn lets us be like advocates, or at least create like this space where we give other people that a chance to speak on their own part and their own life. So I would say, if anything, we're human. But
What I wanted to, sorry, so just to elaborate, what I meant is I followed Joey and the Convergent Media people. They very gracious. I never went to college for various reasons, but he really brought me into his classrooms to kind of see what was going on. And when I got introduced to the Convergent Media department way back when, it felt like there was a lot of artists that were attracted to the tech side of it. So there was like, back then, I remember like Charlie Young, he was an artist. And not that I wanted to put a label on everyone, but it feels like, as this just feels like an extension of Convergent Media from UIW. And I feel like it ebbs and flows. Sometimes we're really geeky and we're doing like robotic stuff, and sometimes we're doing art stuff and we're projection mapping in a basement somewhere. And I was just wondering where this group was at right now, because it does ebb and flow as you learn new techniques. And one of the things I will say as like an outsider, like college was never for me. I love learning, but like as an outsider, Joey and Johnny and all the Convergent Media people, they really showed me what was capable of when you're inclusive. They really included me. They really they just like the aspect of learning and teaching and doing all that kind of stuff. And I'm really appreciative of that, by the way, guys. I always tell you guys, I feel like such an outsider all the time, especially with people with PhDs, and especially now that I work at Express News, I'm always like, I have to interview people like Emily Eaton, who went to like the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism, and I'm like, I barely graduated high school. So I always liked how Joey and
Yeah. So, one of the, again, like behind the curtain kind of thing about this, is that I one, we didn't get to group was started during COVID. So we have not physically all hung out together as a group. We have only met through Zoom. So a lot of what you're talking about, Luis, like we haven't gotten to do. And the closest thing we've gotten to that was Marco and Alondra would come to the meetups that we had before COVID and just come and sit and check them out. And Alondra actually came to one that we had outside a couple of weeks ago. And she kind of gets to see, like, because there's just random people from like totally different walks of life that meet up and talk, like you said. And Luis brings up this guy Charlie Young, who Charlie is from the Valley, and where Alondra is from, and he got into photography, and the serendipitous reciprocal relationships that we would create meant that he would get real into photography. We would then, in my classes, I would encourage people to print their photos. Charlie printed some photos and then started doing prints. And then, Luis would have his prints for sale in his restaurant. And that's like very much like, in the future of Showing Trajectories, and in the future of the media lab at Texas A&M in the communication department. That's what I'm hoping for us to do, is to again have people like John Frazee and have people like Luis come and give talks and give tutorials, which John has already done. He's already come and spoken to Johnny's class, and these people that I'm mentioning are in the Zoom call with us. Yeah, for those that are on Facebook, and I never worried about people's education when they came, and I still don't. And a lot of people would probably be surprised at the various levels of official education some of my friends have compared to their titles and our level of expertise in various fields. Because some of them, like I have one that one of my colleagues, Brandon, I talked about earlier, is a PhD, runs a nonprofit working with obfuscation and anonymity. And one of my great friends that I befriended in San Antonio now works with him. And you would not be able to guess who has a PhD and who doesn't, between the two of them. And that's kind of the thing, is that, when I was in Convergent Media, I was talking to Anthony yesterday about this student of mine named Andrew Valdez, who Johnny went to school with. And when we would show up to meetings in San Antonio, San Antonio is very proper, like the way you dress, what you wear. Like you're meeting with the mayor, you're meeting with, the county judge or whoever, like you wear a suit, tie, blah, blah, blah. Well, I think most people that know me know I only wear shorts and a t-shirt. like period. Like that's it. That's like my attire. So we would show up to meetings with these delegates that I'm talking about to work on various projects, and Andrew would wear like a nice shirt or a collared shirt or a sport blazer, and Johnny would have a sport blazer, and they'd be like, "So are y'all in charge? Like, are you Joey?" And they would be like, "No, like he's over there in the shorts and t-shirt." And you know, it was always very intentional for me. Like, I'm trying to depower myself. That's why I have people call me Joey and not Dr. Lopez. That's why I lowercase my name out, is because I'm trying to be what we talk about. I'm trying to have that. I'm trying to exude that DEI. You know, I'm not trying to throw my media studies from a top tier University of Texas at Austin, you know, degree around the Aggies here, you know, this Aggie network. Well, I'm just teasing with y'all. And
No, I just want to, because I accidentally muted myself.
Oh.
You guys always made it super inclusive. I can't stress that enough. I can draw a direct line to when you said, "Hey, do you want to come sit in on my classes?" to where I am right now. To Johnny, working with Johnny, who is exactly the same way. He's like a teacher first. So that's what I like about the way you cultivate spaces. And you're like, you guys ever read Malcolm Gladwell's The Tipping Point? Like, you're somehow a maven, a salesman, and a connector all at the same time, Joey. You're like a weird mix of all three of those things. And but yeah, no, that's what I really take away from this group. And I see that you're doing it again at A&M. I can't wait to go visit you.
Yeah, well, thank you. And you know, and my sometimes people ask me what's my goal is, and my goal is just to have everybody else here go help other people. And that's what's so cool, is that you can see here that Marco and Alondra and Valentina and Anthony, like whatever their goals are, which I want y'all to talk about next, is you know, it's impacting other people's lives. And so yeah, so to kind of start bringing us right before we take questions, you know, just real quick, what are y'all hoping to do, you know, beyond showing trajectories? Y'all talked about why you came here. What are you hoping to do once you leave here? I know it's a hard question.
I'm hopefully I'll be graduating, like I said, this semester. So I kind of want to stay in the media area, obviously, because I really love it. So possibly work in front. Like, I really like being in front of the camera, but I also like being behind the camera and like learning the production and editing and all that kind of stuff. So I would really want to work for like an editing company or like a producing company, but not just in like film, but also like I would be willing to do like music and stuff like that, like learn different things, you know. Because I'm very curious and I love learning. Like, I catch on to things pretty quickly, which I'm so grateful for. But also a part of me also wants to be like a teacher, and I'm really looking into this, but I would really like to be like an international teacher, either teaching English or Spanish or like some subject that will I guess fulfill that like need to like show others, because I've found that since I was like younger, I really enjoyed like seeing others thrive through my teachings and be like, oh, I am helping someone. I am, even if it's just one person, like I'm changing someone's life, or like I'm adding something to their life that wasn't there before, that helped them in a positive way. So that's what I'm thinking of doing. I'm still working it out, but that's what I hope to do.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm graduating in December, hopefully, if everything goes right. And I still am not entirely sure what I want to do afterwards. I kind of know, I know what I do not want to do. Like, I've got that in my head pretty straight. But I've been really thinking about probably starting my own like media production company, something like that. I would just want to create, like, I just really enjoy and I have a lot of fun doing that. And if I like, I might work for a company in the beginning, but I think in my ultimate goal would be to have my own thing. and just like work with other people and learn from each other and have fun.
I mean, that's such a big question, especially when you're in your second year of grad school and you have to like comp and do all this thing where you need to define yourself. I'm like, I change my mind every week. But so I think for me, I know I want to work with people. I want to work with wherever I live. I'll always reach out and see what are the needs in my immediate community. And I think right now I am in kind of a twofold different parts and processes, because I'm originally from Colombia, and I'm an international student here. So when I got here in Colombia, I was just me. I was some white privileged girl, and I got here and I wasn't treated as white anymore. And apparently I was Latina, Latinx, Hispanic, all kinds of things that I had never had to identify with before. So I have used my academic space to explore that, and I've invested a lot of the work that I do in the department and my research to talk about immigration, to talk about border identities and multiple identities and navigating identities and anything Latinx. And right now, my immediate projects are related to obviously my degree and focusing on recovering Latinx narratives of activist women from the 60s, which is something that I've been thinking about. But it's not just that. I mean, I feel that because I had to explore this here in this moment, this is where I'm at. But long term, definitely I will continue reinforcing that Latinx everything that I'm trying to understand that I am. That's gonna stay with me after I leave. But I come for a background of theater, and I quit college at one point and I went to Argentina because I wanted to be an actress and I wanted to make movies and I wanted to produce scenic arts. So I got into film school there for a year, and I did theater after that for like 5 years after I went back home and did my undergrad in journalism. But so for me, the arts are one of the big things that have to be incorporated in my career, in my research. I know that I will work at a university, most likely tenure track or not, I don't know. But I do find academic spaces to serve and give me the necessary tools to play with the things that I want to play. If I can find a corporation that would give me the money to play with the things I want to play, I will go there too, or maybe I'll do it myself. I don't know. Wherever I'll find a space to play with the arts and for me, I think young people need to have more access to doing theater, to dancing, to exploring and playing with the arts and finding other ways of knowing that are beyond the book and writing, and that's part of how I teach, and that will be part of how I do research at some point. And I have no idea what I'm going to do or how I'm going to do it, but there will come a day where all these different dots that I've been fostering in the different parts of my life everywhere, because nothing is in vain, one day they will all come together and there will be something out of it. And I'm certain of that. I don't know what it is, but I'm certain that will happen.
Well, that was a nice, concise answer as usual. So, but
you're the same. How dare you, Joey?
But honestly, I learned a lot about you. I didn't know you had done all those majors and gone to film school and done journalism and did art. Like, and that's why it's okay. Like, that's why I love Tangential Valentina, because you get more and more information out of people rather than being like, hey, you need to stick to what you're supposed to be talking about. That like, hey, you've got 30 seconds, you're up. you know? Instead, it's we get to find out more and more about each other.
Oh my gosh. That's the golden question I've been trying to figure out these past couple of months. After I finished my comprehensive exam, I questioned my role in academia. Do I still want to go in academia? Do I still want to become a scholar? Do I want to be an educator? Do I want to continue in this path? Do I even want to get my PhD? Those are all questions that I had in my head. The answer to all that is I still don't know. There's one thing I do know that I want. I do want to finish my PhD. I want to my short-term goal for right now is to get my dissertation done and knock that out of the park and become Dr. Anthony Ramirez. I really want that. I've gone too far. I've come too far to not finish that. And so I don't care how long it takes me. I don't care how much work it's going to take me to do. I'm going to bust my butt to make that work. So there's that. Through this process through that process though too, of being in this program, I learned how much I love teaching, and how much I love being a mentor towards students. I just love to interact with students. Marcos knows this, like, and Alondra knows this now in the time that we've worked together. I just like being goofy and joking around with you all. Valentina knows this because we're friends. Johnny and Joey know this because we're friends too. But I think Marco knows it in a different level, because he's had me as an instructor. But I really enjoy it, and there's a weird passion that I find in the classroom that I didn't think I'd ever want or to enjoy. And the weird, so I'm gonna go on a tangent too. So my family are all educators, like I mentioned earlier, I think. And so I never thought that I was going to be an educator. My goal in life was to be an animator. I wanted to be an animator. I wanted to work for Pixar. That was my dream. Never in a million years did I think I would be in a communication program, getting a master's or a PhD for that matter. But lo and behold, here I am, and I'm grateful for that. I'm what do I want to do with that? That's the golden question. But I know I want to be an educator. I know I want to mentor students in some capacity, and I would love to one day maybe, run a nonprofit organization, and do some form of content creation as well, and see what comes out of that. I really enjoy content creating, and I want to incorporate education into it somehow. And so if there's a way I can create like a business out of that, that'd be super cool. But I guess the answer is I want to be a professor still, and I still want to help students. I want to do something cool out of that. I don't know if I want to produce papers and all that. I'm gonna use the word crap because but yeah. And I'm sorry if my advisor is hearing this, but she knows. Sorry, Srini. But
She really loves you. She's
but I have a weird love-hate relationship with like journal articles, like, but that's a conversation for another day too. But yeah, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be when I grow up.
Well, I have to say, thank you all for being part of the selection committee. One of the things I want to emphasize is that we are looking for more people to be a part of our group. We're looking to expand it in all kinds of different ways. We mentioned podcasting. We mentioned, one-off video pieces. We mentioned community involvement, and of course, this lecture series. And so, we're going to continue this, and we're going to continue this venture past this year. But with all that said, I want to take a moment and talk about next week's talk. So next week, we same time, same day, Wednesday at 6:00, we're going to have transparency in academia. and it's going to be a look at being trans in academia. And we're going to have my mentor, Sandy Stone, and we're going to have our colleague and some of y'all's professor, Dr. Lucy Miller, give their talks about what it's been like being in academia and what academia's meant to them, being trans and navigating that space. Because as much as we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, there are still spaces and stigmas and titles that have glass ceilings. And if there's one that I've really recognized having one, and that we, after discussing it, really see it is being trans in academia and what that means. And so we're very excited to host that talk. It's going to be April 21st at 6 p.m. Same Zoom. We have an event on our Facebook page for it as well. It'll be live streamed, and I'll probably be moderating it. But all that said, are there any questions or comments from our audience?
And I also want to say that we have Fariba Paju confirmed for the 29. So that will be happening, and that's going to be exciting too. She's a journalist from Iran who was censored and imprisoned for a month because of the things that she was talking about and exposing. That will be exciting too.
All right. Anybody else? Any questions? All right. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us. We really appreciate you all taking the time to tune in. And if y'all have any questions, you can feel free to contact us. You can hit us up on Facebook. We have a Gmail, showingtrajectories@gmail.com. I'll go ahead and put that in the event discussion in case you are interested in becoming a part of our group. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. If anybody else wants to add anything, feel free.
Shout out to all the people in the Facebook comments. I'm going over them right now. Let me say, Mary Elizabeth says hello. Dr. Shrivi says hi. Angie Galal says hello, everyone. Shout out to Shrivi again. Let's see. No,
Jed,
you're the best. You're
yeah.
the best. People are saying you're the best. Jed, shout out to Jed.
Manny
Grajales.
Manny.
So we're giving shout outs to everyone in the comment section. Thank you to Allison, Luis, and John being here. We appreciate you all. So yeah, thank you so much. Just want to give a shout out to them.
All right. Well, everybody wave goodbye, and Johnny will send us out on Facebook Live.
Brady Bunch moment.
Yay.